fun and really lovely to be here this evening with Jeremy Bear. Welcome, Jeremy.
Well, thank you.
You're welcome. And it's been a long day, busy day for us all, but nice and sunny in Sussex. I know you are normally living in Sussex part of the time, but at the moment you're broadcasting from your studio in London, aren't you?
Yes, so that's because the internet is still not being turned into fast broadband in Sussex.
Yeah, tell me about it. Can you imagine my pain? Every night. We've got, in our house, we've got 3 different providers, so that if everything goes wrong, I can just move buildings. We've got, I think we've got, I can't remember, Virgin, BT, we've got them all. We've got them going into 3 different buildings, so that if it goes wrong on one, I can move to a different building. I don't have to literally leave Sussex and go to London. But you're in London today, and we're looking at your studio, which is your home. Your
yes. I could just
give us
it around. That's the view. And I do paint here a lot because somehow the light's really good.
Well, those big windows.
Although it's facing south.
So that's south facing, is it?
Yes.
Wow. So, and what's on the other side of the river from you?
Well, there's the island in the middle where the trees are all just coming out, and then it's the beginning of Kew Gardens.
Gosh, you're a very lucky man. How lovely to be that close to Kew Gardens. I would love that. It's a dream. Can you walk there?
Yes, we just walk across the bridge. It only takes 10 minutes to get there.
Okay, we're all profoundly jealous now. And you've also got all these wonderful boats behind you. Can you go behind you?
When I started painting, I did really concentrate on boats because I've always sailed. I concentrated on working boats from different parts of the world. And
do you collect them? Are these ones you've made, or are these ones?
No, these are all ones that I collected from Venice and France and Canada and Portugal.
And have you got a painting anywhere around that you can show us?
Yeah.
I think I've seen that painting on exhibition. Did you show that when you did the exhibition in at Eastbourne College?
Yes, it was there, but that and another one were exhibited at the Royal Society of Marine Artists in 1973.
So this one's a fairly historical painting. And was this one of the first paintings that you painted?
Yes.
So 1973, from your television career. So we talked a lot when we did the edition 1. We talked a lot about your television.
Yes.
So we're not going to go into so much depth about that today, because today is about process and materials. So we're going to talk much more about how you create your artwork today.
Yes. And here's a later boat painting.
Wow, that's stunning. The colour is just, I love that flat block of blue. That's exactly what the skies are like at the moment.
Yes, that was on the Ile d'Orléans in France. And they had this huge fishing boat out on the quay, and they had a huge sort of crane to take them out of the water for repainting.
So you seek out painting boats still, do you? Do you still?
Yeah. Oh, yes. Yes.
I know you've done quite a few of the fishing boats, haven't you, in Hastings as well?
Yes, they're all coloured pencil drawings.
Yeah, so these are paintings, but...
Yes, they're acrylic paintings.
But the ones you do in Hastings are generally coloured?
Yes, I've only done coloured pencil ones of those.
Why choose coloured pencils as opposed to acrylic paint for that?
Because it was quicker. And I used all my visuals when I was an exhibition designer used to be in coloured pencil. And then when I did some coloured drawings when I was doing Doctor Who, and they were in coloured pencil too. So I've been using that for a long time.
So coloured pencils are a real medium that is really comfortable and familiar.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah. But your paintings have evolved and you've got into painting in acrylic as you've kind of moved on with your practice.
Yes, yes.
Shall we have a quick look at your studio in Sussex?
Oh, yes.
We start talking about more of your artwork so people can get a feel for your two studios. I'll just show, we've got a little film, it's only short, of your studio in Sussex. And let's just give, there we are, that's got the whole screen. So I'm going to just mute you, Jeremy, and then.
This is my house and studio in Sussex. I took over the studio from my father-in-law, the sculptor Mark Button. He worked only with natural daylight, and I find that's perfect also for my drawing and painting. A railway from the road right into the studio for delivery of huge blocks of stone remains in place. There are several props in the studio which I made when I was a production designer for film and television. Sometimes I couldn't find the right thing and so made these myself. Here's a fiberglass sturgeon that was for a film I designed about an East Anglian poet. The fish had to appear to swim in a river. I made this model boat for one of the many episodes I designed for the BBC's On Eden Line. Now to come right up to date, this is a painting from my first visit to Mongolia in 2018. One of my continuing projects is drawing and painting craftspeople and their work. These two are well known in Sussex. Here are a prayer wheel installation with 5 paintings of Mongolian landscapes and accompanying prayer, and also a painting of me as a Kazakh eagle hunter.
Just going to turn that off so we make sure it doesn't start playing again, because that would be awkward. So I'm going to give you the full screen now, Jeremy, so people can really truly appreciate all these amazing paintings behind you. But what really fascinates me is the journey that you've taken from that television career where you were doing, as you said, lots of colored pencil drawings and making items for props, and then you moved into your painting life. Can you tell us about that and what inspires you to pick the various subject matters? So we saw Mongolian paintings there, we saw your Indian paintings, and we also saw your craftspeople. So it'd be really good if you could talk about those individually.
Well, the craftspeople I started because I knew quite a lot of the people in the Sussex Guild of Craftsmen, and a particular friend, I painted a picture of him, which he bought immediately, which encouraged me to continue with that. But then when I started getting interested in India after I'd been there, about a year after I last went, I suddenly felt I just had to paint the people I'd met and seen in the streets and everywhere. And it sort of set off from there. And before I hadn't, except small people in sketches, I hadn't really thought that I would be able to paint people, but it just became an obsession that all these interesting people I could paint and show. And you could see that some of the ones behind me, and there's a whole lot more on the wall there.
Yes, the fascination with people, but you've moved away again. You've decided with the Indian paintings to go with paint. Why did you decide to go with paint as opposed to the colored pencils?
Because I found I could draw with paint really, and have much more definition. done drawing pictures of boats with coloured pencils. And
yeah, I was going to say, you started off drawing your crafts people with coloured pencils, didn't you? But then moved across into...
Yes, well, I started obviously with initial drawings of them, because I wanted them working with their machinery. The wood turner who bought his portrait, I did a drawing in his workshop, which he also bought. And then there's Potter in Lewes that I did as well. I did drawings of him and then did a painting of him, which I showed last time. It's Mo Mohammed, who works in the Star Brewery.
So this is kind of part of your process now, is it? That you do the drawings and then you move on quite often to painting?
Yes, but I can't capture it when I'm there. I have to, because how I started the Indian paintings, I thought of it as a court moment. So in some of the earlier ones, the people aren't fully in the frame, as though they're just stepping into it. And like this one behind me here.
Yes.
So they went together exactly like that. She did have friends, but most of the time I was there, she was talking to a sort of grandmother character. But so I wanted to put one of her young friends into the picture.
So when you're there, do you take photographs or do you just sketch?
Well, actually, I was filming for making documentaries for all. I've only just cut that one together, which is, I think you're going to show.
Yes.
And she appears in that. So it wasn't a photograph. I had her on film, and like lots of the others. And this one here, he wasn't anywhere near the flags, and there wasn't a car just behind him, but I condensed it all. And that's about the government in Calcutta when I was there was communist. So he was old and relying on the government, but behind him was a mobile phone shop. So everything is changing.
Yeah, that's fascinating, because you're really approaching your painting as a filmmaker, aren't you? You're
yes,
in a very cinematography.
Each one tells a story, and the expression on their face or what they're doing is, you could think of a story. And in fact, I've made a film for the schools and museums on the Isle of Wight, and based on some lesson plans which Griselda's written, which discusses the painting in 15 of the paintings in detail, and asks the children what they thought might have happened before the picture or what's going to happen after the picture.
Yes, we're going to come on and talk about the exhibition at Dimbler in a little while, aren't we? Once we've seen the film that you've made.
Yes.
We've chatted a bit more about your process and materials around these particular artworks that you've got behind you, and the Mongolian paintings as well. I'm fascinated by your colour palette, because it's vibrant.
Well, everywhere you look in India, the colours just hit you all the time. And even the very people just sort of selling things on the street, like that one. His expression was so aspirational and friendly. He didn't resent me filming him, and
these guys here, they're very amusing.
Yes, but I was so struck by the expression of the one in the back, and then I had one of the young man who was actually a priest, so I redressed him and put them together, and it's called How Could You? And he's a priest that appears in this.
Oh yes.
It's the same person, but in a different guise.
That's so the way you would create.
Well, and the two women in the background are my son-in-law's sisters.
So is that why you're drawn to India from a family perspective?
Oh yes, because my daughter Laura is an anthropologist, and she, for her fieldwork, she spent a lot of time there, and we went lots of times. So we had a very close connection with what. And I shot some documentaries with her about shipbuilding and river pilots and all things to do with the River Hooghly, which she uses in her teaching.
And why did you then go? What was the draw to Mongolia? What took you to Mongolia?
Well, a long time ago, I actually made a yurt, and over a course of 10 days, I made it, not the cover, just the framework. And then we decided to get another one. And Griselda loves travel, and so do I. And she had this ambition that she wanted to go on Trans-Siberian Railway from Moscow to Beijing. And we stopped off in Mongolia for a week. And again, we were completely struck by all the colorful and new things we were seeing. And so we went back again in summer 2019, and we stayed there for a whole month, and we went right to the west of the country, to the Altai Mountains, and then miles and miles and miles into the Gobi as well.
And that's inspired quite a lot of paintings, hasn't it?
Yes. So this is a herder we met, and this is one I've just finished.
That's stunning, Jeremy. Absolutely stunning. There's such warmth of character that you can see that you really enjoy what you do. There's such joy in that painting.
Yes, and I'm finishing another one. It's not quite finished. I've still got to finish painting the hands and the face completely.
So when you approach these and you find the character, you're out there filming and exploring and having a lovely time, sometimes holidaying or making film, and do you know instantly, oh, that's a character, I'm going to paint that person?
Yes, everything sticks in your mind, and then you just think about it when you come back and decide you just have to do it.
And how long would it take you? So the guy with the green background.
Actually, this one took 4 days.
So how would you approach it? So talk us through the process of how you would approach that. You've seen the guy and you've got it, he's stuck in your head, and you come home and so.
Well, in fact, first of all, I did a drawing, and then I did a lino cut of him. When I did
the lino cut there.
No.
Oh, sad.
I did a lino cutting course to refresh me. I mean, I had done it in the past, and I chose to do him, and that was in a black and white image, but with all his lines on his face, like in the picture.
And then you did the drawing, the underdrawing. Do you color? Do you put an undercolor down first?
No, I didn't. I did it. I mean, I was so impatient. I wanted to see how it would look in black and white, but obviously it could have developed into other blocks. But not in the atmosphere and detail that can be done in a painting. And
do you have a favourite paint, acrylic paint that you use that you find work really well with these colours? I use, in Sussex, I've been using Rowney heavy body colours. And most of these have been painted that way. But I also use golden because, I mean, when you've got some underpainting and you've covered the area as you want to cover, and then lots of the detail can be put in with the golden ones, which are more free-flowing.
And in London, I've been using these, which are they come in big jars. That's fine, because while I was in lockdown, and I knew the exhibition had been postponed again. I said, well, I can't just sit around. I'll have to paint. So I did another Indian one to replace the one that was sold. So this is a festival drummer that they hire them in from villages outside Kolkata during the Durga Puja festival, and they make, to welcome Durga, they make a lot of noise everywhere in the pandals and in the street.
So these guys are actually doing that, or is this another one that you've constructed from people?
No, these are doing it, and
doing that.
The little boy was banging a gong, and we found one exactly like it
on eBay.
On eBay, yeah.
Everyone needs eBay, don't they? That reminds me of my granny. She always had a gong to call us kids to come and eat.
And a drum, but it's not covered in the material like the one in the painting. But that's the basis for the drum.
Did you get that on eBay as well?
No, that's called. It's a store that sells musical instruments from all over the world, called Sound Travels.
Handy. So shall we have a look at the film that you made of the Durga festival? That'd be quite a good thing to show now, I think. Now
yes.
Some of the pictures from the festival. It's loud, people, I'm warning you, okay? Be prepared. This is not a quiet film.
You could turn it down a bit.
I'll try, but I think I'm warning everyone for their ears so they can all turn it down on their sound. That's a better thing to do, right?
Yes. And all the sound was recorded there as I was filming, so it's all
really helpful for you to talk to us about the film and how you made it once we've actually okay.
মুখ্যমন্ত্রী, শিল্পমন্ত্রী, শিক্ষামন্ত্রী,
সবাই মিত্র পাত্র রাজার কথায় বেদন ফসিকে উঠুক শাস্ত্র, ফসিকে উঠুক শাস্ত্র, ফসিকে উঠুক শাস্ত্র। দেখবো নাকি ধুয়ে মুছে
দেখতে চাই, দেখে অবাক বলে যাই, আমি অর্থ কোনো খুঁজে নাহি পাই রে, ও ভাই অর্থ কোনো খুঁজে নাহি পাই রে, বাইরে বাইরে আমি কতই রঙ্গ দেখি দুনিয়ায়। দেখো ভালো জানে রইল ভাঙা ঘরে,
কিন্তু প্রত্যেক বছর আমি আমার সঙ্গে আমার মেয়ের সঙ্গে दुर्गा दुर्गा शरदयं आपदं तस्य नश्यन्ति तमः सूर्योदये यथा जटाजूटसमायुक्तम् अर्धेन्दुकृतशे
Wow. Goodness gracious. I have so many questions. I have so many questions. I was watching there and I could spot all your characters as they were coming through, like the man with the drum and the man in the pink shirt. I was like, wow, you can see now where you get all your inspiration from. Those festivals, that was one taking place in one place?
That's like the equivalent of Christmas, and it lasts over 10 days, but all those ceremonies you saw are in the last 5 days. And they start in June making these huge effigies in clay and painting them of Durga and her sort of satellite gods and goddesses. And then usually in October, they have this huge festival, and you can hardly get around the city because everybody's walking around and looking at the temporary building stage sets, which are huge and all on different themes in different parts of the city.
Is it designed? It's designed for the people who are, it's a religious festival, isn't it?
Yes, it's Hindu festival.
I presume it attracts lots of tourists as well.
Well, you don't notice them amongst the millions of people, the millions of Indians in Kolkata.
And they all flock in from all over the country, do they?
No, it's actually within the city. The people who come in are all the drummers, because every different stage setting has a group of drummers to work with welcoming the goddess with as much noise and drumming as they can. And then
noisy.
And then at the end, they take them to the river and throw them in.
That just seems so sad. And I loved the color saturation got me with the way you'd made the film. And it was so, while it was being so noisy and it was really vibrant colors. And then as that part of the process happened, you went into that sepia tone.
Yes, but that was because I was filming at night. So I had to tint it when I was editing it.
Would you ever paint in those colours, do you think?
Yes, I can conceive that. I've often toyed with just using orange and black in a design.
In fact, I think we have one coming now from
Yeah.
Stage Right.
Well, that's quite a muted colour scheme, but that was early in the morning, and that's a boat going out to collect mud to take to brick kilns, which are all downriver from Kolkata on the riverbank. They use the tide, which is very strong, and sail where they can, or they row them.
And is there a landing point for all those effigies where they go downriver?
No, well, the clay effigies all break up, but what's left is the bamboo armatures, and they get rescued and reused for all sorts of things.
Because the Indian people are very industrious like that, aren't they? They do love a good bit of salvage and reusing of things.
Oh yes, all the time. There's another picture that has that. It's a mixture of the festival and yes, that one.
That one on the other side of the screen that we can't see. Hopefully it's going to come right. It's coming. But I'm fascinated. Because India's a vast country, do those festivals happen elsewhere in the country, not just Kolkata?
Yes, in different forms.
That's one of the things I wrote down, as well as the sepia tones. It was like the graphics are incredible, aren't they?
Yes, I did do a graphics design course at art school, so I've often used lettering in paintings. But this was a driving school just across the road from where we were staying. So I introduced a woman who was actually at one of the festival sites and put her in, so she'd just come into frame. And this is the first one I painted in the Indian series. And then this man is probably carrying plastic in a sack which he collected to sell.
And when you thought about putting that woman in, how does that come about? Because you've got the scene that you're looking at. How do you then decide I'm going to put this particular woman in that corner?
Well, I cut a shape of her out and the shape of the man and decided how I'd place them that way.
Oh, so you do a little bit of a kind of collage.
Yes. Yes.
And then think, oh yeah, that's working. I'm going to go with that.
Yes.
So why did you make that film, Jeremy? What was the point and the purpose of making that film?
Well, again, it's an obsession. I got my daughter to buy the camcorder and said she could use it. And we'd sort of decided that we would make some films. But then when we started walking around, I just couldn't stop filming. So I filmed. I mean, there was more that I've never used, much more. That I had always, it was a small camcorder and nobody really noticed it or objected to it at all. And with the local pandal, which features a lot in the film, obviously, as there were family members involved, because my daughter married someone from Calcutta. We were very happy in the group and they didn't mind at all and they never looked at the camera.
I love the woman with the scene where the guy was doing all the henna on the hands.
Yes.
And she was just observing you, observing her.
Yes. But they were quite calm about it.
Yeah. She looked equally fascinated. She was just like calmly observing you, observing her. It was a wonderful shot. I thought that was a particularly poignant shot. And the little girls dancing at the front of the stage, almost like an afterthought of these little girls dancing. It was stunning. And that particular film is going to feature in your exhibition, isn't it, at Dimballo?
Yes, it is. Yes.
Right.
Yes.
And that exhibition it was scheduled to take place last year. So
It's been put off twice now. First of all, it was going to be shown last year, and we were just about literally to take all the pictures of the Isle of Wight when lockdown happened. And then again this year, the gallery hasn't reopened yet, and I don't think they're going to reopen until September. So they wanted to put it off again. So now we have dates for just before Easter in 2022.
That's ridiculous, isn't it? But that
Yes.
planning organisation of that has really taken over your lockdown, hasn't it? You've been quite busy.
Yes, completely. Well, and Griselda, because she tried before in 2019 to get a grant, and that was turned down. But over last autumn, she worked on applying again, and she'd like to tell you about all the partners she's got, because we've got a terrific outreach program for the exhibition as well as just the exhibition.
Oh, I think it'd be great if Griselda came and talked a little bit about the Dimbler exhibition and how that's all going to play out.
It actually shows how useful lockdown has been in some ways. You know, we have to try and make something positive out of it. I think most people have managed that. And what happened was I made a first application, which they've said frankly they were really interested in it. What I've found with the Arts Council is that it's really useful to get to know their relationship managers. Now, I don't know if that works for individuals, but it certainly works for project grants, which was what I've gone for. And they give you an awful lot of guidance on what sort of things they would like you to be adding in. And they're usually things to do with making it much more relevant to the community, quite rightly so, because now the Arts Council are interested in that. They weren't in the old days. So what I've spent most of lockdown doing is getting partners on the Isle of Wight, where the museum is, to build a much bigger project, which actually reaches out to all the schools there now. Been working with a music hub there who are going to be writing a song that actually is inspired by the exhibition. All these outreach activities are inspired by the paintings, mainly by Jeremy's paintings in the exhibition, which lend themselves to that kind of understanding and treatment. So yes,
the exhibition title is called Cross Currents, isn't it?
Creative
Cross Currents.
So what it's about is how artists and society in general really benefits from the richness of cultures knowing each other and sort of being linked. And, you know, artists have done this. We can all think of famous and less famous artists who've traveled abroad, been really interested and stimulated by what they see as they travel around and open their eyes and look at things. So yes, so that really helps. It gives a sort of way in for people to understand what the exhibition is about. So yes, we've worked with another company who organise big carnivals, and they're going to be training school children to do a dance inspired by all that you've been seeing in the film exhibition, and also produce flags, and they'll be performing in the, we've about 18,000 people altogether in the carnival, and this will be one element in it. And a lovely group called Independent Arts who work between schools and care homes. They've been doing this for 10, 20 years, and they set up wonderful projects where children go send their work during lockdown into care homes, and vice versa. The people, residents in the care homes, send their work back to the schools, again inspired by the things that they've learned and seen in the exhibition. So, you know, you can quite understand why this element needed to be added to it for it to become something that the Arts Council really wanted to support.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's exciting that the exhibition is going to happen, and Jeremy's going to be able to show a lot of this artwork that we can see behind us, this colourful artwork, as well as the film that we've just watched at that exhibition.
Yes, and it's also linked to Julia Margaret Cameron, who was actually brought up in Calcutta And then she went to school in France and then back to Calcutta, and she got married there. And until she was in her 40s, she lived there. And then she came to England, and her son-in-law gave her a camera, and she started from there. So this is the first time her links with India have really been explored by Dimbala itself.
She was Victorian.
Victorian.
Yes, yes.
So her work is going to be exhibited alongside yours.
Yes.
As part of that. And is there anyone else involved? Any other artists involved?
Yeah, there's Sunara Begum, who's an artist of Bangladeshi heritage, who she's also has a film which she shot in India alongside mine, which is all filmed underwater in a swimming pool. And there's a huge rope, which is sort of like an umbilical cord, and she's sort of moving through the water. And she's works in all areas of the arts, and she writes, and she makes films, and she does performances, along with her husband, who's a very well-known Nigerian musician. And then there's her mentor, who's called Duncan Pereira, who was born in Sri Lanka and came to Britain, and he was a stills photographer in the film industry, and he experimented with analog processes for photographs, not digital, in using different mineral dyes with his photographs. And he went, and he's done a lot of the photographs he took when he went back to Sri Lanka on a trip. So they're very interesting.
They're going to be in the exhibition as well.
Yes.
It sounds incredible. So this is what's been really, you obviously pursuing your obsessions with painting all these amazing people through lockdown, and obviously Griselda and yourself working very hard on making sure that exhibition still happens. If people want to come to the exhibition in 2022, what should they do? How do they contact you? Should they email you? Is it on your website? What should people do if they want to be notified and kept informed?
I think they can email Griselda or me, and we can tell them exactly what to do.
Okay,
and if people come from London, or it's a bit longer if you drive from Sussex, but you can get to the event in a day if you want to. You don't have to spend longer.
No, I have looked at you can get the ferry from not from Newhaven, from Portsmouth, I think.
Littlehampton. Or Southampton.
Yes.
The one from Littlehampton crosses to Yarmouth, which is a very short distance from Freshwater, where the museum is.
So let's just share your page in the magazine with people so they can see where your contact details are. So if they want to contact you, what we're saying is you would email Jeremy. As you can see his, I'm going to bring your page up as the main feature on the page. There we go. So here is Jeremy's email, and he's on page 44 and 45 of the Pure Art360 magazine, which you'll find on the Art360 page on the website if you click on read. And as I say, there's Jeremy's email, and you've got your website address there as well. So if you're interested in going to the exhibition, the best thing is to email Jeremy and just notify him and Griselda, and they will be able to keep you informed of exactly when the dates are and how you get there and all of those other things that we need to know, all the logistics, etc. It's been absolutely fascinating, Jeremy. I'm just so transfixed by the way you put these paintings together from all of the films and the photographs that you make, and how you construct them. They're they have such a filmatic quality to them. I can't wait to see them all in just one place.
Yes.
It'd be exciting. Are you excited to see them all in one place together?
Yes, it will be, yes.
This was stimulated by Lesley because she said you should.
Yes, remember this, Lesley. You said I should paint some smaller pictures.
So you painted something small on a bigger piece.
Yes. So
I love him.
we brought this back from Japan, and it's a sort of folk art animal, an ox. And I had the brown kimono from before, and obviously Japanese brushes.
So this is you paint. Is this a painting of you painting?
Yes.
That's so super cool. We haven't even touched on your time in Japan, but you know we have got questions, so I would like to go and let people ask their questions, because your work is so fascinating that I know people have got questions down here. So first of all, from Annie Catford about the filming, do you use a tripod or are your films handheld, Jeremy?
I did use a tripod where I could, but obviously not driving inside a car. I found that if you try and hold a camera and it's unsupported on something, it won't be right. So if you rest the camera on the back seat behind the driver and shoot through the windscreen, the natural movement of the car, you don't get the camera job other than by the natural movement of the car. And then in lots of the ceremonies, I couldn't use a tripod. I had a little one fixed to it so I could hold it more firmly. And some of the shots I found that because of the drumming or the music, I couldn't keep it still enough not to move it a bit in time with the drumming or the music.
I can imagine. We're lucky that we didn't get seasick watching it.
In the end, where they're throwing the idols into the river, we hired a little boat that take people out, and they just have one oar and they go with the tide. And so we had one of those, so we get ready and close, and we kept being warned off by the police in their boats because we were getting too close.
I think you could hear a little bit of police noise in the background, couldn't you?
Yes, yeah, they were shouting with loudspeakers.
Yeah, I was like, I'm sure that's the police. I could hear.
Yeah.
Jonathan says, Jeremy, you've lived a wonderfully rich life and it's reflected in your paintings. What are your current ambitions with your work, and what country would you love to visit that you haven't done so yet?
Well, we want to go back very much to Russia and Mongolia again, because being there for a whole month, it really gets you deep into it. And in Mongolia, the hospitality is incredible. You just turn up at someone's ger and they invite you in and feed you. And we had a driver and a guide. And for the first part in the Altai Mountains, we camped in little tents, and we had a cook and another driver as well.
Sounds amazing.
And then there aren't, apart from the one out of the capital, there aren't really proper roads anywhere. So you're always driving across rough country. And one day we went up into the mountains, and the road was a dry riverbed with huge rocks in it, but somehow the four-wheel drive managed to very slowly get over everything. And then because everything is slowed down, you see so much more. And the distances they're so long. You could be, but on some flatter areas and desert-like areas, you can drive quite fast.
What fascinates you about Russia? What is it about Russia that interests you?
Oh, well, we haven't been to St. Petersburg yet, and we want to go there for the Hermitage. And we've both been reading lots of histories, and Griselda speaks Russian.
Oh, does she?
Yes.
Oh, no, I didn't know that about Griselda.
Yes. Well, she did it after. When did you do it?
After school.
Yes, she did a Russian course after school, and has often wanted to use it. And we hadn't all that time, because when she worked for the Canadian government, she wasn't allowed to go to Russia. And so in 2018 was the first time we could go. And it was just so fascinating being on an ordinary train, although we had our own compartment, and stopping at stations. They usually stop for about 20 or 30 minutes when they get to the next big stop. And seeing all the landscape and reflecting on the history, which we've read about, of all the different places we went to. And we stopped off by Lake Baikal as well, which is fascinating.
Did you make a film? Did you make it
No,
personal?
I didn't. No, I was silly. I didn't really make much film of that. I should have done, but I thought that the movie camera would get in the way a bit. But we took an iPad and we did shoot some from the train, but not enough actually in place.
So that's a really good reason to go back.
Yeah, that's a good reason to go back.
You're going to have to go back because
Yeah.
Griselda needs to practice her Russian and you didn't take any film. I think that was a ploy, a clever ploy. And Charlie says, have you ever painted the Kandyan dancer from Sri Lanka?
No, I haven't, because we haven't been there yet. I have to go and see for myself. I never paint anything that I haven't actually experienced.
Yes, that was going to be my final question. Do you always paint from life, from things that you've observed yourself?
Oh, absolutely, yes. I have to own all the source material and have experienced it.
Yes, because you're painting, not only you can see in your paintings, they're not a exact representation of what was in front of you. It's the feelings and the emotion and the sound,
Yeah.
and the energy that's also being put in.
Yes.
Yeah, and that comes across in that dynamic color that you, and the nature of how you compose those pieces. It's very, very clever. You're a very talented man, Jeremy Bear.
Well, thank you.
I wish you the very best with the Dimbler exhibition and everything else that you're doing. And just keep painting. I'd like to see some Hastings boats in paint as opposed to pencil, I think is what I would say. It'd be nice to see some of those, because the first boats that you showed us, the color saturation was incredible. And I wonder, do you have a book in you? Because the travels and the journeys that you've been on.
I don't imagine myself writing a book, but Griselda, in all our trips, she writes a very detailed diary.
So there might be a book in Griselda.
The material's there, and she might write it. But I was thinking that I would possibly make a self-made book about the Hastings fishing boats.
Yes, and then paint them. I'd love to see them painted as opposed to in the pencil. Seems to just give everything that added dimension of cinematography. It becomes quite almost moving, almost animated.
Yes, I hope so.
The paint. Yeah. Thank you so much, Jeremy. It's been absolutely fascinating. I always love spending time with you guys and chatting to you about your work and what you're doing. You never sit still. You're always busy. As you say, it becomes obsessional.
Yes.
And I can't wait to see what you do next.
I'm not like lots of other artists. I don't paint every day. I don't draw or paint something every day. It's when I want to do something, I would do it intensively, but then I might want to go off sailing, or in Sussex, we have a large vegetable garden and the house is in a wood. So there's always lots of things to do with trees and everything like that. So
everybody approaches their art practice in their own way. There's no right or wrong way. It's just your way. That's your way.
Yes.
And your rich life and the diverse experiences you've had are what is coming out in these amazing paintings. So I'd just carry on doing what you're doing if I were you.
Yes, I will.
Don't change it. Thank you so much, Jeremy. And thank you, Griselda. Are you going to come and say goodbye? Come and say goodbye and have a wave on the screen.
Bye-bye.
Come
Brilliant.
on screen.
On screen, I shall say.
Screen.
Well, thank you very much, Lesley.
Yes.
It's
Thank you.
lovely to be part of it, and congratulations to everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you for being so sharing with everything, and for also being so generous in talking about the exhibition as well, because I know having the disappointment of it, literally your exhibition being virtually the first thing that was going to happen literally days after that first lockdown, you have turned that into such a positive experience, and a real credit to yourselves and to what you're doing for Dimbler. It's just incredible. So yeah,
we look forward to greeting as many people as
Yes.
possible.
yes. Well, hopefully lots of people will email Jeremy.
Yes.
And if not, they can always email us and we'll make sure that they get in contact with you. Thank you so much. Tomorrow night here we have Jane Cowan's film will be premiering at 6 o'clock, the sculptor who she is head of conservation at Lincoln Cathedral. So that's definitely one worth watching. And then on Friday, I'll be interviewing Jane Cordery. So yeah, do join us, 6 o'clock as usual. And lots more to see. We've still got another week to go. And then next Friday, we've got the tea ceremony. So I hope you've all got your tea kits. I'm going to
Yes, we've got our tea.
Yes, we've
have you
got
got your tea? Have you all got your tea? I've got mine here. I've got my tea maker and my tea all ready to do our tea ceremony next Friday to honour everybody and say thank you. So still time to order your tea kit. And well done to the people who won on the Facebook and the Instagram challenge. That was brilliant. So yes, thank you so much. And we'll see you all live on Friday with Jane Cordery. But don't forget to tune into the website and see Jane Cowan's premiere tomorrow at 6 o'clock. Thank you both so much.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.